I killed your father. What is it with you women anyway? I killed my father too, and you don't hear me whining about it.
Oh, yes. We are here. Hello. Hello to everyone. What is up? It is Wednesday. And we are going to talk about some stuff. I'm looking forward to it. So, Um, I have been in sort of an interesting spot lately. Some of you guys are not completely aware of this, but I want to put some stuff into like perspective. So some of you that are out there who are watching this might remember a spurg that I talked about not too long ago. Back when that one idiot was threatening to flag my channel. And I said there was actually someone worse. And I brought up an email from a guy named Liam Gray who was threatening to sue me over a bunch of shit I didn't do. Well, funnily enough, he had brought me up in this live stream he did where he's standing in a chicken coop that is for some reason in the middle of in the middle of a farm, completely absent of chickens. That's interesting. Ranting and raving about him having issues with his wife because his kid sadly had an accident. And in the midst of all of this, I kid you not, he starts blaming random people for all the problems in his life, and I'm one of them. Now, the thing about me and Liam is the last time I spoke to Liam, my beard was brown. That's how long it's been. I was a lot slimmer than I am right now. There was a different president in the White House. Like, are you kind of getting the gist of what I'm talking about here? Like, it has been some time. And what I had kind of gathered, to give you guys, for those of you who have come and to become part of my audience over the last couple of years, for those of you who are unaware, I am one of the original content creators that was part of the online movement Comicsgate. It was me, Richard Meyer, who some of you may know as either Diversity in Comics or Comics Matter with your boy Zach. Another guy named Captain Cummings. Another guy named Englentine. I don't know if he's doing anything anymore. And a couple other people. We were the original content creators that pushed that consumer movement forward. And some of you who probably saw my video where I was sticking up for Kirsch, when she watched it, there were people in the chat saying, don't watch this, he's part of Comicsgate, something, something, something else. And at that moment, I realized my name is forever going to be tied to this movement, no matter what I do. So then I found out that this stream was going on, and I tuned in to it through another channel who was EFAPing it at the time, and that's when I saw my name getting mentioned in that sort of a context. I'm like, okay, I understand being mad at me because of stuff from years ago. I get it. Things between me and Liam did not end well. And on top of that, I was part of a live stream that ended up being one of the lowest points of his life. I get it why he's still pissed at me. But what I didn't understand as to why I'm getting blamed for shit I didn't do. Because again, I haven't interacted with this guy for years. I'm all the way confused as to at you getting blamed by someone you haven't talked to in years. RPX, I'm in the same boat. I'm just as confused as you are. Because I just think to myself, like, how the fuck? So, what I said is that I'm going to go in there and I'm going to go back into the community and make myself known. Because truthfully, I have kept an eye on Comicsgate from a bit of a distance while I focused on my own work. Because obviously I had a lot of stuff to get done. I had a YouTube channel to continue growing. I had comic books where I needed to raise some money so I could get them out to people, which we're finally getting to do. On top of, finish my own work, such as getting my novellas done and this, that, and the other. Well, have you talked to Liam? Obama was still president? No, Biden was, but still, the point remains. Like, we were still dealing with a little bit of lockdown fever when the last time that I had spoke to Liam. It was 2022, spring, like around this time 4 years ago. Basically, he's blaming you for shit you didn't even know about or was involved with, and he's not blaming himself. Pretty much, Jake. So, at that point, I'm like, okay, what the fuck? Why am I getting brought up in this? And I said, okay, so what I'm going to do, I made an offer to a CG channel called FFS Cast. It's a funny panel group of guys. And I offered them, I'm like, because they had been having some issues with Liam too, and I said, well, these guys are pretty funny. They seem like they'd be, fun to do a show with. Why don't I give them the offer? I'll come on and I'll dish the dirt on the old days with Leem. They'll make some money off super chats. It'll be a good time. So we did exactly that. And we had a blast. That was a great show. Or at least I had a blast. I think those guys did too. But so I did that. And then I had seen that the host of that Yo-Yo, hold on, I'll pause my story for a second. Yo-Yo throws in $4.99. Thank you very much. Says, did you hear about the drama with Chibi Reviews and his ex-fiancée? Is there anything more past the threat where he said he was going to end himself, and then his whole friend group is like, fuck this guy? Like, is there something beyond that? Because that's the last I knew about what was going on with him. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So, I find myself confused, but I see that Cynic, the guy who's the host of that FFS Cast channel, he goes on to a conversation with Liam. And Liam is still full of shit, but he is shockingly civil. And I go, all right, I saw a lot less Leem, the Spurg. I saw a lot more Liam Gray, who can be a nice guy. He's a fucking nut job, but he can be a nice guy. So I go into the comments of the video and I say, I saw some civility here that I haven't seen out of you in a long time. I would be interested in offering you an olive branch. Reach out to me and we'll talk. And basically what my thought was, is I will sit down with him and go back to neutral. Say, look, you don't like me, I don't like you. We don't have to like each other. The simple fact is that we are two authors within the independent comic book space that are trying to get stuff done. And if you'd be willing to let the past go, I'd be willing not to bring it up anymore. My basic thing was I wanted to go in and just basically convince him to stop being so crazy, let him know I don't really care about him. Because I don't. And it's like, but we can live with that. It's like, it's one of those things where, like, my attitude towards people I don't like or that I've had problems with in the past, my default at that point is apathy. Like, if I don't like you, I don't go out of my way to fuck with you unless you're doing something really stupid. And generally speaking, if I know someone, there's less of a chance that if you do something stupid, I'm even going to say anything about it because there's a personal connection there, right? And I'm not that vicious. So what ends up happening is I see another stream, and during the course of it, Liam throws his kid and his wife under the bus. Because somebody brings up, while he's ranting and raving about not having very many friends, says, dude, you've got a wife and a kid. And he's like, oh, no, but I don't have a, but it's not the same as having a brother or having a male friend. I'm like, Liam, that's your wife and your kid. And you just threw them under the bus. The fact of the matter is that as a guy, you will have guy friends that will come and go in life. You know, my two closest friends, the most that I have with those dudes at this point is just conversations via text, or they call me on occasion just to see how I'm doing, because they've got families and family is priority. You know, my priority is my work because I don't have a family of mine. I would love to, but you know, the fact is that that's not how things have turned out for me. And you know, you live life just the way that it is. And the bond that you should have with your wife and your child, your own family, should be stronger than anything else. To the point where you're not worried about other stuff. Because that's where your devotion should lie. So to say something like that about your wife and your child, and it's when somebody reminds you you have one of the greatest blessings that a man can have in your life, and your response is, oh no, it's not the same, oh no, fuck you. Olive branch rescinded. You're a fucking cocksucker. Good lord. That is one of the most disgusting things I could say. And apparently he does that a lot. And it's like, it's very frustrating for me because the reason that people don't want to hang out with him is its own damn fault. You know, recently he said he was going to kill himself and then went quiet on the internet, even when his guy friends that he still had were trying to get in touch with him to make sure he's okay. And then suddenly a wellness check happens because they haven't heard from him in a while. And then he's questioning why they would do that. You said you were going to kill yourself, dude. Are you stupid? It's like, what the fuck are you doing? So, at that point, I'm like, all right. I'm on, as some people would say, I'm on that fuck Liam shit. I'm on that wavelength of fuck this guy. Now I'm at a point where it's like, look, all right, you wanted my attention. You got it. You got daddy's attention. You might not like it. Because then what happens today is I'm going to rip him apart when it comes to his work. So the thing with Liam, we're going to give you guys an idea of his background in regards to comic book creation. So Liam, in my opinion, can be a very talented writer. I'm so animated, my camera's flying all over the place if I make like one little movement. I'm so sorry about that. But Liam can be a very talented writer, but he's one of those guys that needs people around him to check the greater demons of his nature. Every writer, by the way, should have people like that in their lives. That's why I have Hatman. Hatman constantly keeps me in check. There are points, I have a friendship with Alex which also is why he's such a good editor for me, is I have aspects of my personality that he checks, and he has aspects of his personality that I check. Hatman can be kind of mousy sometimes and not fully commit to things. I'm the one who pushes him towards it. Oftentimes I will get so pissed off that I can't see straight. Alex is capable of calming me down and helping me channel that anger towards something positive. Those sorts of things work really well. And it's the same thing with our editor-writer relationship. As the writer, I consistently want to push things and I want to go big, but sometimes I don't have the proper perspective on where to fit everything like I really need to. That's where he comes in. So what happens at that point is, the writer and the editor are in sync with one another. Liam needs somebody like that to check, again, the devils of his own nature. And when he does, he can produce some really cool stuff. So he had this book called Xenotype. So this, I helped him get funded alongside some other people, to the tune of $102,000 Australian, which I think is like close to $70,000 US. He did really well with this. He was working with a tremendous artist named Odysseus Theodoratus. Some of you have heard me mention him before. Odie is a buddy of mine. This was actually how we met, is Liam introduced us. And Odie right now has become a bit of a star in the webtoon world, where he has a book called Tomahawk Angel. And he is one of the best artists on the planet. And I don't say that lightly. I have a lot of faith in this kid. And I have reached out to him more than once and said, if you ever need help with anything, if anything goes haywire, your editor disappears on you, you need any help, let me know. I got you. He's a good kid. I like him quite a bit. So, what ends up happening is he does this book with Odie called Xenotype. And it is basically, to sum it up, sort of like, what if you put Spider-Man and the Guyver in a blender? And it's just this great looking book to it. It's a great looking book, good pacing, very well put together. Well written, well drawn, book came out great. At least the colored edition did. The manga version here was misprinted, and it is Liam's fault that it was misprinted, despite what he says. He tries to blame Odie for it. The fact of the matter is, and he told me this, is that he rushed out the manga edition to own some people who did not like him, and he ended up fucking it up instead of properly checking the print file like he's supposed to as a project manager. And that fucked his reputation, on top of the split with me and other people and other such issues that he had. His reputation tanked. But somehow he still managed to get a couple of things done over the last 6 years. Only a couple, though. Brown CBR says in the chat, Liam busy right now trying to move a sum of money at the bank because he's scared to use his phone to do it. You can do it through a browser. Like, what the fuck? But anyway. So, Xenotype comes out. At least the colored edition is good. He refuses to reprint the manga edition because he's an asshole. But then he puts out another book called Wonder Island that gets an okay amount of money. Still hasn't come out. 6 years later. Still has not come out. He has apparently rewritten it 7 times. Which tells me he's not working with an editor. And when you're not working with an editor, you tend to do a lot of rewrites because you don't have anybody to tell you this is good. Because the great thing about having an editor is that they will help you move forward when it's time. Because they're the ones who are supposed to have the mentality of, do not let perfect get in the way of good. Which is a principle that, when it comes to the business of selling art, should be your mentality. Do not let perfect get in the way of good. Get the job done and do your best while you're doing it. You don't need to start it over and over again. Your client is waiting for the product. It's not going to be perfect. You're not perfect. Get it done. They paid for it, and it's still not getting to them. And there are people that backed that book that have died waiting for it. Kind of fucked up. So, the Leem did a couple of books. One of them was called Kakashi Murder Dolls. Or as I and some friends of mine had labeled it, Sasuke Murder Hornets. Because the name is kind of stupid. To be honest with you, Murder Dolls, just Murder Dolls, is a good title of something. Like Murder Dolls. You've got my attention immediately. Just like that. Trying to add any sort of Japanese word in it to try to spice it up, fucking stupid. Especially when it's the name of a character from Naruto. Not needed. And if you were working with an editor, they would tell you that. But Leem did this book. He did it very quickly with an artist named Yuka Cross, who's a very nice young girl. And it's a fucking mess. It's a fucking mess of a book. And then he did another book called Dino King, Edge of Extinction. And this one has one of the goofiest taglines. At least its original one. What if dinosaurs as you know them never existed? What's funny is, this used to just be, what if dinosaurs never existed? That was how he started it. That was the original tagline. What if dinosaurs never existed? Okay? So he changed it a little bit, which is smart because that original tagline was fucking stupid. But there's a problem with this particular campaign that needs to be brought up. Here's the thing. If you guys saw an artist that was said to be phenomenal by the following names, would you buy their book? Here's the names. Takahiko Inoue, who created Slam Dunk. Eiichiro Oda, creator of One Piece. Kazue Kato, who I think that's Tokyo Ghoul. Akira Toriyama, creator of Dragon Ball. Kohei Horikoshi, the creator of My Hero Academia. And then Osamu Tezuka. If those 6 artists said that somebody's book was phenomenal, you'd probably want to buy it, right? Because that's 6 of the biggest names in anime and manga history. Like, a couple of these guys over in Japan are cultural icons with Toriyama and Tezuka. What about Total Conquest? Is there a story written out for that one? I haven't even looked at that campaign, to be honest with you, Brown. But if you heard all said that was great, you'd be like, fuck yeah, I want to read that. So Liam has put on his campaign, roll past the art. We're going to get to the art here in a minute. So Ishida did Tokyo Ghoul. But what did Kazuo Kaito do? I forget. Blue Exorcist. Okay. I've never read Blue Exorcist, so I know nothing about it. I know it exists. But anyway, this is what he put as he says, so he had entered 2 manga stories within a contest over on Medibang called the 100th Tezuka Manga Award Anniversary Special. So he entered that competition, and both of his manga were viewed quite a bit. They got very good views, largely because the writing at the time was pretty solid. I really liked Xenotype Pursuit quite a bit. But then again, I like Xenotype in general. But he did that. And then X-Road Strive, which was a comedy manga about him and Odie working together, which was pretty funny. They did pretty well with that. And, but he says, to our relation, both series were critically acclaimed. I don't think he mentions Odie at all, so I don't know who this Hour is. There's no Hour. Liam, Conquest manga is just you. That's what you go under. There is no Hour. There is no multiple people involved in this. Grindstone is an Hour because it's me and Hatman. We're a team. You have no team. You just have you. Nobody wants to work with you for very long. Because you suck. You're terrible to work with. I would know the reason that I rewrote Starshine and then copywrote it was because you didn't pay me the $1,000 you owe me. But now that's with me doing that and you apparently not kicking up a fuss about it. I am perfectly fine with saying we're even. But anyway, he says that the following statements were made by these legendary mangaka. He said that Akira Toriyama says that the story was full of energy. Notice it's singular case, not stories. Was full of energy, and I enjoyed reading it. For a manga from overseas, I didn't feel any awkwardness while reading. Great to see this kind of ambition. Felt really refreshing and fascinating. Oda said this is a winning book, even though it didn't win. Why would you say it's a winning book if it did win? Its only downside was that the entrance, Leem and Odie, made a continued series. From Horikoshi says, I had so much fun. The entrance, Leem and Odie, are able to think outside the box. Even though I am the judge, I learned something. I had a realization. Manga is about to be allowed to be free-spirited. You're telling me that the creator of My Hero Academia didn't think that manga was allowed to be free-spirited. Kind of a hard sell. But you kind of already start to see, like, the issues, right? Well, the reason is because every single one of these quotes is bullshit. They're a fucking lie. So the guys over at FFS and had shown this on their stream. We're going to have a look at it. So these are the quotes from Liam. The ones I was just reading off of. These are the actual quotes. Which they're kind of artifacted because of the image quality. So thankfully, over on the farms, somebody posted the individual quotes. And they had an AI break down what Liam changed. Because basically what he did is he fucking lied about what some of the most legendary manga on the fucking planet said supposedly about his book, when in reality they were talking about every single contestant that they looked at within this fucking competition. Liam, you piece of shit. Toriyama did not say anything about Xenotype. He said the entries were full of energy and I enjoyed reading them. I could tell many of the entrants have read and studied a lot of Japanese manga and did not feel any awkwardness while reading. Due to this being an overseas contest, the entries were full of diversity, which felt very refreshing and fascinating. Horikoshi, the one that is supposedly taught how to be free-spirited by Liam Gray, says, I don't know if this was due to different cultures or personalities, but there were many unique expressions and I had a lot of fun. Many entrants are able to think outside the box. Even though I'm the judge, I learned something. I had a realization, oh, manga is allowed to be this free-spirited. Different sentence. Same thing with Kaido. As you can see, the original quote on the right, Liam's quote on the left, very different. And of course, this is about the entire contest. The one from Inoue wasn't anywhere accurate. He just made up bullshit. He basically slandered. So, well, it's libel in print, but libeled a statement of Takehiko Inoue to try to make himself sound good. Tezuka passed away in 1989. Well, it's the studio, Tezuka Productions. And, like, Oda did not say that anything that Liam did was a winning book. Well, just completely fabricated. Never said anything specific about Liam and Odie. Complete fabrication. So, Liam is a goddamn liar. And it's very disrespectful to those legendary mangaka. Well, no, that's not your bad, Rocket. I should have specified. But very disrespectful to those legendary mangaka to say that shit with no evidence whatsoever that it was actually said about him. So you're a goddamn liar, Liam. And you're a piece of shit. This would be like if I were to, like, make up a bunch of shit that was said about my work from, like, Peter David, Dale Keown, fucking... Wait, no, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that. Dale Keown has actually commented my work already. So I can't say that because it's actually true. But let's say Peter David, who's now dead, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, who was dead before I was even alive. Like, I could go down the fucking list. Like, if I just did that, you know, it's like, fuck off, dude. It's vile. It's absolutely vile that you would do something like this. And the fact that you haven't come back to this Indiegogo campaign and taken these quotes off is fucking insane to me. Because you can still edit this. Absolutely fucking disgraceful. It's disgraceful to the legacies of those men that you would lie about things that they would said to try to boost yourself. Because apparently, people bought this book based on those statements. Liam, that's fraud. That's fraud. Like, that's fucked, dude. Absolutely insane to me that he would do things like that. You summon Jack Kirby from beyond the grave to praise your work. But that's Liam. That's the type of person that we're dealing with today. So what we're going to look at is the two books that he has actually finished in the time that this has gone out. So we're going to start off. Oh, I'm going to show that later. We're We're gonna start off with Kakashi Murder Hornets. Again, should have just been called Murder Dolls. And here's the thing. Leem has threatened to strike people that read his stuff and don't pay him respect. I don't like having to deal with strikes, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up select pages. I will not show the ending of the book. I'm not going to go over every single page individually. Rather, I will tell people where they can find it. So, Kakashi Murder Dolls you can find and read for free on Medibang right now if you want to. Amos throws in $2, says, ah yes, the one with the Corvid virus. Oh, we'll get to that. So here's my general thoughts on this book after I've already read it, because I've already done it. First off, the book sucks. It's not good. It has a ton of problems that could have been fixed with a good editor and a competent project manager. But Liam is not a competent project manager, and there was no editor on this project. The characters in it have no sense of actual character to them, aside from broad strokes. There's stoic guy, there's ditzy slutty girl, there's drunk asshole. Those are your three characters. There's also a ton of pointless fluff in this book that could have been executed much better. Now there are good ideas in here, in the broadest of strokes, but when it comes to the page-to-page thing, Liam fucked it up very royally. So, let's go ahead and pull this up real quick. First and foremost, the cover of it is a fucking mess. It's not very dynamic. And by the way, this is not on Yuka. This is something that Liam should have understood, but he's not very smart. This trade dress is fucking aggressive. Like, ridiculously aggressive. And it doesn't need to be this aggressive. Like, all this stuff here is not necessary. All you need is your logo, your credits, and your imprint. That's it. That's the only things that you need. Everything else, like Xenoverse and all this other, like Wave and all this other shit, not necessary. Too much shit. Too much. So, very messy. Very, very messy. So, simplify your trade dress. Now, he's probably going to say, because Liam will watch this and he will get very angry and then he'll delete the stream later. No, but manga's like that. Well, no, it isn't. The only covers that I've seen that are really busy are like magazine. For example, a cover of Shonen Jump will be very busy sometimes. But that's because this is going to be put on a newsstand and needs to tell you everything that's inside of it, which is what this does. Thoughts on Chainsaw Man ending next week? I have a lot of catching up to do. But this is what this looks like. If you're going to put out a volume of a manga, you do not need all this mess. For example, let's take One Punch Man. Super simple trade dress. Very easy, very well put together. You know exactly what you're getting with. One Punch Man. Title of it, right at the top. Issue 1, story by 1, art by Yusuke Murata, and then Shonen Jump Manga, that's your publisher. Simple, you can see the art, looks good, and if you know the story of One Punch Man, this actually does tell a story. Even Berserk, which I would say gets a little busy sometimes, is actually pretty simple. Berserk, 14, Karamira. So no Leem. Nar. Your trade dress should not be overly complicated. It never should be overly complicated. Keep it simple, stupid. Keep showing that. I'm gonna hold on. I'm moving that to a different tab. You're not supposed to see that yet. Damn it. So, cover sucks. Cover's not good. Could have been good, but not really. The other problem is that character design's really generic. Like, it looks like just generic anime guy and generic anime girl. Especially because this dude right here has generic anime face, and he's just Dante from Devil May Cry 3. Like, you just took Dante from Devil May Cry 3, you gave him an eye patch and long hair. That a Space King reference? Keep it simple. No, Leo, that's an old saying. Keep it simple, stupid is known as the KISS principle. It is basically something that you hear bantered about in just about any American workplace by people who tend to towards people who tend to overcomplicate shit. Keep it simple, stupid. So, the cover, like, it's just, this doesn't really get me that really interested. Like, or really interested in it. Not to mention the colors are not as good as they could be. I kind of feel like it's like almost a little overexposed. Like, it's just, especially having read this, it doesn't really fit the tone of the book that you're selling. You know, this doesn't scream seinen to me because the interior of this is a seinen. And again, Liam will probably go, "Nar, it's a battle manga." No, it's not. The gore that is in this is on par with Gundam, which is a seinen. So, Damos throws in a couple bucks, says character designs with 2000s DeviantArt OC energy, to say the least. So, let's get into the meat of the book. Right out of the gate, this other chick, Baby Doll, which I really don't like Medibang's reader very much. Baby Doll here, it just looks like Biken from Guilty Gear with a sluttier outfit. Same build, same massive tits, same hair. Just skanky outfit. So, one thing I will say this right now. I would say about this right out of the gate. Fluff like this is not bad. Put it at the end of the book. Don't put it up front. Fluff is best at the end. You know, as your bonus features. This is not needed. And yeah, here was dead ass named Toy Boy. So, but that's what I would do. Put it at the end. This fun little bit of art. then there's this thing that says everybody's got a right to freedom, everybody's got a right to fight, everybody's got a right to live, everybody's got a right to survive. I'm pretty sure those are song lyrics. So let's have a look and see if they are. Um, 1960s civil protest song written by Fred Douglas Kirkpatrick and sung by the SNCC Freedom Singers. Okay, so it is song lyrics. The reason I bring that up is that it's kind of redundant. The everybody's got a right to live, everybody's got a right to survive, but it's a song it's a song reference, so it is what it is. So not Dante's looking very angrily at the camera as if you just stole his sandwich. Now this should have been your cover. This absolutely should have been your cover. This is dynamic. This sets the tone really well. It gets me really interested to read what's going on. Kind of feels like an X-Men homage, to be honest with you. You know, the cover with Wolverine. I think it's like X-Men 250 or something like that. Where Wolverine's on the X and he's been crucified on it. Like, this is much better. Gives a feeling of just gives you an ominous sort of thing. And this is really well done. This is like some of Yuka's best work right here. I especially love the little detail that she's got of the clouds are deforming because of the mushroom cloud. That's a nice touch. Because, you know, it's basically if you're trying to get the feeling of country living with a guy like these guys are supposed to be scarecrows, and a nuke goes off in the distance, that's what it would look like. So that was well done. So good on Yuka. And this stuff has to be planned by the writer, so good on Liam too. Then we have this map. I don't care about this. Again, you're putting this early, and the problem with putting your stuff like this too early in your book, I don't know who I'm reading about. So all of this means nothing to me. That's why you put it at the back. Because at that point, you've basically been given a shot by the audience to impress them in regards to, you know, whatever the fuck your story you're trying to tell. And then they might be more interested and they can read more lore. This is not how you do it. This is a lore dump way too early. And this here Tartarian national anthem, this is not a national anthem. It does not feel like a national anthem. It's actually fucking depressing when you read the lyrics to it. It doesn't even sing properly. Like, I actually tried to sing some of this at one point while I was reading this. I'm like, nah, this doesn't really work. You know? Like, the point of a national anthem is to boost the populace, not to, you know, be like, fight the animals, you're on your own. Like, no, that's not what a national anthem was going to have in it. So, that sucks. Get it out of here. Like, just put a description about Curran Guy and Delta Crucius and that sort of shit and why we should care. That's what you put when you're lore dumping. This is just not good. Throw it out. If I were editing this book, I would have told you, get this shit out of here. It doesn't do it. It doesn't help. It doesn't do anything. So we get into the book itself. One thing that I noticed with the art right out of the gate that you'll notice, nothing casts a shadow. Like, at all. Nothing casts a shadow. And it just starts with this, and then splat, and then suddenly, giant robot. And just out of nowhere, giant robot. The perspective on this is really weird. I don't know why the camera is... Why is this a wide shot? Like, you got the bird getting zapped in the panel, and given that we're seeing a splat here, It's obvious that the mech shot him with the cannon on his shoulder. But this feels very flat. And it's not dynamic. You need your story to look dynamic. But the problem is, and this is an issue that I see throughout this book, a lot of the camera shots are like straight on. Like the camera is level like this. You know, like my webcam is, right? There's like very rare usage of like isometric shots or things along those lines. And it's like, why? Why would you do that? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So that's an issue that I see here. Another thing about it is that I'm going to scroll through this so that you can't really tell what I'm looking through. There's a point where, for some reason, there's a husband and wife. For some reason, the wife was wounded. And then they have a point where, to show the wound, they tell her to disrobe. But the problem is that the wound would not require disrobing for you to see what it is. You just need to pull your shirt up a little bit. It's kind of a weird try to like say that these guys are evil. Like they're already obviously the evil corporation. Like you're kind of over. This is kind of seems like the artist just wanted the writer just wanted the artist to draw some titties. Because it says here, that's no ordinary wound. Yeah, the fuck it is. Like, what? How is that not an ordinary wound? It just looks like she got cut. What are you doing, Liam? You saw this and was like, that's okay? That's no ordinary wound. Yes, it is. Looks like she got cut. What the fuck? What the hell are you doing? So, and then another thing about this, and then I'm going to take this off the page because I don't want Liam to copyright claim this, though he might try to anyway. So here we've got a bunch of people. After that, he says, we're packing up and rolling out. Then they start running. But they look like they're running away from something. And then, bracka, bracka, bracka. Well, actually, you know what? I could see this as towards. And then you see bracka, bracka, bracka. But notice that there's a fence at their back. Right? Then suddenly we switch the camera completely to pull out from there. So is there no other fencing? Is it just like there's a fence here and then just wide open spaces? Doesn't really look like farmland, not quite. So I understand what he's going for here, but these people were just running towards him, weren't they? That's a pretty quick 180, dude. Especially because he just opened fire. You're not going to be able to turn that fast from a bullet. So this would have been a lot more effective if, I understand wanting to do facial expressions and stuff like that. It's been a lot more effective if they were caught in their tracks going forward from this perspective. Or you do it over the shoulder of the robot because you just did a full-on shot beforehand. This is like, it's just, I understand what he's going for, but it's not quite landing. So, yeah, it's kind of weird. Not to mention, I would have added in something here for like a sweeping motion, because that's a minigun. Miniguns do not spread that much. They don't. They just don't. They're a lot more precise than you'd think. So, it doesn't quite hit the way that it would. Not to mention, if you're like, if you had done the over the shoulder shot and they're against that fence there, it almost gives this feeling that you can't escape from whatever's happening. That's much more effective storytelling. So there's a lot of ways that he could have done this, and honestly, it probably would have been proposed if he was working with an editor. So, but yeah, it's like these people were just running forward. They would have been stopped dead in their tracks. So, yeah. It is a, not really that great. So as it goes on, and remember, you can read this over on Medibank. I'm gonna link it in the chat real quick for anybody who wants to read it, because you might not agree with me, which is perfectly fine. But to go over my notes real quick, like I said, nothing has a shadow with the art whatsoever. So everything just looks cut and pasted, like it was drawn on something else and then pasted on the scene. Camera work is really boring. Not very good. The dialogue sucks. It's really stiff. So it's kind of obvious that Liam was not working with an editor at all here. Flow from panel to panel at points is honestly non-existent. Like, there will be points where it feels like it jumps from one spot to another, and you should never have that sort of a feeling where you have jumped too much from one panel to the other. The only time that you can really pull that off is if it calls for it within the story. But in this particular case, like, these sequences, like, you could have just done a much better job of putting this together. So, and to be honest, the funniest part about all of that scene I was just showing you, after it, we go to the main characters, and you honestly aren't gonna care about, like, what just happened, because the main characters, it doesn't really connect them to that, at least not from what I remember. Let me look at it again real quick. Bear with me for just a second. If you're looking at it, you can kind of figure it out, but it's very kind of goofy. It's like by the time you get to it later, you just kind of don't care about what just happened. Honestly, it doesn't really serve the overall plot. You could have just put it in a flashback later on, I think, and it would have worked a lot better. But then the other mistake that he does, and I am going to show this, he does another lore dump in the middle of the fucking book. And it's very stiff because and this is one of the biggest problems with this book, is the political allusions are way too fucking on the nose. Like, way too on the nose, like this panel down here. You know? And then we get to, and this is the one that, like, really gets me. The Corvid virus. Now here's the thing. I understand that the theme is scarecrows. Crows are part of the family called Corvidae, which also includes ravens, magpies, birds like that. Here's the problem. You're doing this, quite literally, as COVID was going on. So turning COVID into Corvid, basically, you might as well have called it Schmovid. Because that's how it comes across. I understand that you think that that's really clever, but it's not subtle. Not at all. I would honestly I would say that like some of this stuff, especially like this here, GMOs are the seeds of suicide, bird flu kills go vegan. This right here is on par with how stupid it was for the Red Skull to be turned into Jordan Peterson. Honestly, it's that level of dumb. I don't know why you would do that. So it's like it's like Captain Planet, like taking a sledgehammer to a glass table, kind of subtle. So from here though, the funny thing is after this lore dump, the story does get better. Though they do this shot with Baby Doll twice where she's just standing there with her ass hanging out. And again, this is the problem, is there's a lot of pages that are just these straight on shots and the camera work is just non-existent. And there's just nothing dynamic. This comic, Leem Strawman comic, yes. So it goes through that. I'm going to move this around. And what we basically get is that these Kakashi, these scarecrows, they protect the fields from giant bird monsters. Simple idea, easy to wrap your head around. So on and so forth. But the character designs are still very generic anime. All of it really is very generic anime. Nothing really is that interesting, to be truthful. Some of the art is good, some of it is fucking boring. I couldn't really care about any of these characters. I was just surprised to see some gore that kind of reminded me of Gundam. One thing that I'm definitely not going to show. So, the thing about Baby Doll and generic Not Dante is that they are siblings, right? There's a scene in the book where Baby Doll is practically naked around her brother. And I'm like, that's kind of creepy. Are we literally putting in here, what are we doing, stepbro, into this fucking comic book? Really? Like, what? I saw that and I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me, Leem. But this is Leem. This is not Liam. Liam used to be sensible. Leem is not sensible. Leem is an idiot. So, also, I'm just going to say this right now. Liam has accused people of putting lewd shit and selling lewd shit, calls them pornographers. If that's the case, Liam, then Kakashi Murder Dolls is incest porn. Just keep that in mind when your own logic gets used against you inevitably in the future. Brown, did you ever think of that one? Because I know you like to fuck with Liam. Did you ever think of that one? So I'm fine running with Kakashi as incest porn if you want to. He already thinks you and I are planning together anyway. Both you, me, and I. And apparently I'm one of the many people who fund you or something like that. But anyway. So yeah, the character designs aren't good. The lettering throughout it is very rough as well. He really needed a professional letterer on this because, like, there's points where the lettering is kind of in weird, awkward spots when they're in the bar. And a proper letterer would have caught that, and a proper editor would have caught that too. He obviously didn't have either of them. We like when Liam snitches himself. Fair enough. But yeah, that stuff is sus as hell. And by the way, I'm not gonna shame somebody for using sex to sell your book either. I've done it too. Like Like, we actually sold Dakimakuras with the last Cyberpop book, and we're gonna do it again. So, like, I'm not against it. There's nothing wrong with sexy things. My whole thing is, like, don't fucking try to shame people when they do it just because you don't like them. Because you've clearly done it too. So, there's that. So, but that's Kakashi Murder Dolls. It sucks. It's not good. It's really not good. Like, all the lore dumps in it do not really need to be there. They added nothing to the story. The flashback was kind of interesting, but I ended up not caring about the character that it happened to. Like, it's like, yeah, that sucks. That's terrible. This clearly is a fucked up world, but you don't really do anything with it, because the next thing that happens is that they are fighting giant birds. And there's nothing wrong with fighting giant birds, by all means. But, it's just, like, I didn't care about any of these people. It was just ditzy slut with baby doll, stoic dude with not Dante, and then there's the drunk guy in the bar who apparently taught them, who he's an asshole. That's all we get. And I've seen people do a lot more with 48 pages. I did a lot more with 36. So, just something to say. Hey there, Black Mercury. So that was Kakashi Murder Dolls. Not very good. But there's some interesting stuff in it. I like the idea of these scarecrows just being automata, that as long as if they get decapitated and their bodies get fucked up, if you take their brain out, you can put it into a new one and they're right as rain. You know, like, that's interesting. Again, giant bird monsters. I like birds. So that's kind of cool. And not to mention, I lived out in the country for a while, so the idea of these people being living scarecrows, that's not a bad idea. That's actually kind of neat. But the execution is just not there. It's just not there at all. Feels more like a parody of an anime you would see on Adult Swim than a real story. Basically, like, what I would do personally is I would establish the universe through the field pit. Have Baby Doll and her fat ass killing the big bird, and then getting saved by not Dante. There's some dialogue, and then you get some, like, then you can do, like, transition into a flashback where we see the origin of not Dante. Kind of, or maybe just show pieces of it. Don't show the full thing until later. And then go into the bar section and give us some actual character development between these people. You know, fill out the universe through dialogue with that, not just random lore dumps. Leem is the kind of guy that without an editor, he tends to write like he thinks that people can read his mind, which is bad writing. You need to be able to tell people these things during the course of the story. Yeah, that's why you have to step outside of manga and back into mythology. It looks so derivative of popular IP. Well, yeah, that's why whenever I'm writing something, I don't just, like, read one thing. I pull from, my inspirations come from all over the place, you know? Like, a book that I'm working on right now called Project Lazarus, that one takes inspiration from, like, a bunch of stuff. From, you know, a bit of Devilman, but also from the video game Doom, and also from Evangelion, but also from the X-Men and Excalibur, you know, stuff like that. Like, that's a broad range of things to pull from. It felt like Liam wrote this saying, I want to write a manga, so I'm going to do manga things that are typical to manga, as opposed to telling an interesting story about characters that he was clearly attached to. I don't think he gave a flying fuck about this. The whole thing seems rushed. So, it gets an F from me. I wouldn't even So, like, apparently he's trying to follow it up. Don't follow it up. It sucks. Get rid of it. So then Dino King. This one is kind of stupid. So I'm only going to use the pages that he put on his Indiegogo, because again, I don't want him to get all pissy and try to flag me, because it's kind of asshole he is. He false flags people a lot. So I'm going to play within his rules, and then, you know, make him pay for it. So, broad thoughts on Dino King Edge of Extinction. So these take place in the same universe, both these books, with his previous book, Xenotype. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, Micah, I can read Kakashi Murder Dolls for free on the internet. However, I cannot, for the life of me, find a copy of Xenotype except on eBay. Where am I supposed to read it? That's the thing. You don't. Like, you can't find this campaign. You had to back it at the most expensive bundle at $160 to get a book that honestly is kind of necessary to understand the background of Dino King. Like, and by the way, Leem, that's fucking ridiculous. Reprint the fucking book. But the reason that he doesn't reprint the fucking book is apparently he would have to pay Odie out of the profits. In which case, then just pay the fucking kid. You son of a bitch. It's your fault that he left, not his. You fucked up the printing of Xenotype. Your fault. You could fix it. You could have made it right years ago and you didn't do it. Fucking bum. So, right out of the gate, we've got, here's the cover, and I'm going to say this right now, the fucking, Jesus Christ, dude, the trade dress is so goddamn aggressive. We need to claim these characters, Micah. Click on commission porn of them. Oh, Lord. A Korean manga. Nar, it's Korean manga. Part of JoJo am I currently on? I read Steel Ball Run and haven't read anything since. Anyway, on topic. So, Dino King, Edge of Extinction. So, this cover looks like two covers, kind of smushed into one. Because this back here is Caden in white, but this up front is obviously Vinny Tartamella. And then you've got this thing here where there's a Fusuma, which, by the way, you don't see any Fusuma in the fucking book, from what I remember. But this is apparently supposed to be a Fusuma, and then this in the background. And you've got all of this shit just in front of this beautiful Kanan White art. Now, Vinny, if you're watching, I think you're a great artist too, buddy. I think you should have had your own cover, and Kanan should have had his. I don't think that this really does either of you, or maybe Vinny just colored it, because the color work is really good. Julian impressions of aggressively bogan. Nar! Sorry. But, maybe he did just color it. I can't tell. The front looks like Vinny, honestly. Maybe I'm wrong. But, regardless, this trade dress is so fucking aggressive. It's like, it's taking up so much of the art. And that's why you don't want to have a really aggressive trade dress. You know? Like, you want to just, again, have Dino King. And then, I honestly think that you should just have the conquest kind of like the C. Put the C right in here. Then you've got your Japanese. Then you've got your titles X-rated. The thing, by the way, this isn't X-rated. I know he does this as sort of a tongue-in-cheek thing. Get rid of that and then have your wave 1 right here. Or, and then, because basically you could have issue 1 or 1 of 2, and then you've got wave 1 right down here. Simplifies your trade dress, lets the art and the logo breathe, and then you can have your title Edge of Extinction either here or down here. This one does not need to be here. It doesn't add anything. This right here does not need to be here. Could be done over here. Again, an editor would have spotted this. And honestly, had you put Dino King like more like up in the corner, it would have let the center image breathe a little bit better too. And you can even see the top. Well, the coloring is not bad, Jake. Like, the actual coloring, like, I have a feeling if we pulled all this trade dress off, the book, like, this looks really good. The problem is that the colors of the logo clash with the colors of the character because they're basically the same thing. So it makes it harder to recognize. This should have been colored differently. Honestly, I would say like maybe some whites here or something like that because it's just not quite there. Like, again, trade dress. Show you guys a good one of Kanan White art. So this isn't fair. But this is what you're supposed to do. And yes, I'm going to use myself as an example. But the art is breathing here. You guys notice that? Like, you see everything. The logo of the book is not obscuring very much. The title, the credits, is not obscuring very much. The Grindstone logo is not obscuring very much. Like, just a little bit of the leg. And her legs don't even work anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter. So, but this right here, you can tell what's going on in the artwork, right? It's not very aggressive whatsoever. Compare this to this. And to the credit of Kanan White, it's Kanan's artwork, so it looks great. But on both of them. But and the colors are good too. It's just, man alive, like that logo and just that trade dress is just not it, Liam. It's not it. You need to get that shit out of here, dude. So we go to the pages themselves. Right here. It says here, and we get the dialogue. So I'm not going to overanalyze the dialogue because it's not the worst I've read, but it's not great either. Let's see if we can just open the image in a new tab. There we go. So very kind of typical child dialogue within here. Kendama Shiratori, Mia Shiratori don't really need all of this. Honestly, don't care. Doesn't really, and I've read through the book. This doesn't really add anything, like, at all. Liam, this doesn't add anything. Like, we can figure out, it's more fun to learn these things by getting to know the characters throughout the course of the story. Like, this doesn't really, it's kind of cute in the sense, like, he can hold his breath for 3 minutes. Once ate 7 cheeseburgers. It's kind of cute, but at the same time, I don't really need it. It doesn't really add anything to the story. It's just, I would get it out of there. Because again, it lets the art breathe a lot better. And, like, that's one thing that, like, you're strangling it in some of these points. You gotta let the artists, like, really show their stuff here. Also, I don't think that this is the same artist at the start of this in the front, and like the first half of the book for the second half of the book. So, and I'll show you why that's an issue later. The one thing I will say right out of the gate, this book is way better than Kakashi Murder Dolls. Way better. It's still not a good book, but it's much better. So, you know, you get normal kid chatter, and then you hear a roar. Did you hear that? Sounded like a just assume dinosaur. So they peek around the corner. Don't you want to see a dinosaur? And then we see the chomps and the slurps and the blah blah blah. And this motherfucker is eating a deer raw. Any relation to a certain batshit insane ice skater from the Narima Award? I don't know. But again, chomp, slurp, chomp, hungry, chomp, slurp, chomp. Name unknown, age, ? Interests, venison, ? Special talent, ? Why are we trying to be goofy? There is a dude in the middle of a forest eating a raw fucking deer. Like, literally eating its guts like he's a fucking zombie. This is fucking creepy. And by the way, the art is really selling it. Like, this is a really creepy scene. This is fucking creepy. However, the problem that you're running into is how this is followed up. And this just detracts again away from it. Like, you gotta let this stuff breathe. You're strangling it with shit that we don't need to know yet. So, kind of ruining the mood. I'm gonna just do... Okay. So, we see the shocked panel with the kids. See the crunch. This food is mine. Why are you here? Why are you hiding? Are you enemies? Are you monsters? ? Dino King Edge of Extinction. So, fairly effective start though, right? Not bad. What if I told you that after these two children, mind you, so these are young. What were their ages again? Let's look at it again. They are 6 and 9. What if I told you that after a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old saw some strange guy in the forest eating a raw fucking deer that he killed, tried to take him home to their mother? What if I told you that happened in the book? Would you believe me? I want to hear what the chat thinks on that one. Would you believe me if I told you that's what happens next? Because it does. That is exactly what happens next. I'm sorry, but there's not a fucking child on this planet that... Is this a black comedy? I know, right? There's not a child on this planet. How dumb are the kids? Apparently they're retarded. Because that's exactly what happens. They fucking take the dude to their fucking mom. Like, yeah, zero survival instinct. Like, what the fuck? They don't run away from him or anything like that. They take him straight to their fucking mom. Like, what the fuck? And then, like, her reaction to him isn't, he's covered in blood. It's, nobody wears these kinds of clothes except for people from this one region. Or something like that. And it's like, what? What are we doing, Liam? Yeah, what are we doing? Like, this is fucking horrifying. Mom, we found a guy eating deer. Can we keep him? With this tone of how retarded everything is, it seems like he's setting up for a Billy and Mandy type comedy. That's the thing. It's not like, so it's so stupid. So that happens. Hold on one second. People are pinging me on Discord. Bear with me for just a sec. Oh, it was someone confirming that they are going to watch the show. Okay. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's what happens next. And he makes some, and so from here on in, we're going to go to my notes on the book. Because again, I don't want to get the channel struck, but Liam needs to eat some humble pie here. So what happens next is, for some reason, they take this bloodied guy to their mom after witnessing him eat a raw fucking deer, and then he just passes out. It's a stupid, stupid, stupid scene. Not very well done. The kids don't act like kids. The whole opening is nonsensical. The fact of the matter is that what we saw was the opening of a horror story. Which, given how violent this book gets at points, it's appropriate if you lean into it, which he doesn't. And by the way, he'll try to say, "No, it's not really a horror story." There is no fucking planet that exists, Leem, where that's a valid that's not a horror scene. You're fucking stupid if you're gonna try to use that excuse. No, fuck off. That's horrifying. It was effectively horrifying. If you didn't think it was, then you're fucking retarded. So, what happens next? There's a couple of ways that it should have been done. The first idea is the kids run away from the guy who ate the deer. He follows behind. Lady notices the clothing. She gets between them and says, "Get back, get away from my children." He goes, "Help me," passes out. More effective on the first one. At that point, you're just thinking, okay, well, maybe there's just something fucked in his head. You know, maybe there's something weird going on with him. And then you can fill in the context of it later, and it can remain a bit of a mystery. Alternative number 2. You can have it be that an actual dinosaur was eating the deer. Make it a small dinosaur. Make it like a velociraptor. It turns around to go after the kids, and the dude, who is already covered in blood, comes, fights the dinosaur, saves the kids, gets wounded in the process. The kids then take him to mom to get help. That would have been more effective. So either way, the opening sucks. It's not good. 0 out of 10. The opening is terrible. And then for a lot of the opening stuff, like, there's points where, like, I understand what he was going for, but he just did it wrong. Like, at one point, the mom makes, because basically what happens is that he rests, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, the family is perfectly fine with him. Even though he was eating raw deer and acting like a fucking crazy person. So, at one point, what ends up happening is they have a dinner. There's some wholesome moments. And, the mother remarks on the fact that this guy, who is actually a amnesiac, somehow knows how to use chopsticks. And he doesn't seem like he's from the area, because where they're at is supposed to be based on Japan. So, how? And he goes, "I read your mind." or something like that. Like, just flat out just reveals that he can read minds. Well, thanks for taking all the mystery out of it. Like, there's no mystery behind about, like, so the character's a psychic. Okay, we're just gonna throw that out there. Where's the fun in that, man? Like, you gotta give. You took away some intrigue of this character. You know, and you never want to do that, especially when you've got you're trying to set up mysterious circumstances. Right? Here's what I would have done. I would have just had him say, I don't know. I just picked them up and I knew. And leave it at that. So then you ask, like, okay, so he's not from around here, but he knows how to use chopsticks. So, okay, that's a little. What it does is it leaves that little, just a little pinch of mystery in your head. One guy who's really good at that is Naitao, the creator of Trigun. So something to take notes from. So, but yeah, you want to let the reader have some mystery, right? Less is more. And then from there, they go through like basically like kind of a family bonding scene where the mystery guy is working on the farm, and it's revealed through him goofing up on the farm that he has like big time super strength. And that is done well. Because there's a point where he's trying to farm cabbage and he strikes the hoe to the ground too hard and leaves like a crater. Not a big one, just enough of one. And he goes, I have killed the cabbage. And that got me to laugh. That got me. So you got me, Liam. You got me on that one. That was funny. It was same thing when he tries to milk the cow. Like, he just like somehow manages to knock a hole in the barn. You know? It's very funny. And it's basically this idea of like, he doesn't really know who he is, what he's doing, why he has these abilities, but the family is being patient with him. They're being very loving to him. Did he hit them up? No. He's like, the character, funnily enough, is a nice guy. Like, his name is Kaiji, which is just Kaiju, but you changed one name or one letter. But he's like, Kaiji's a really nice guy. Very nice guy. So it's just like, eh. The only thing is like the dialogue is kind of stiff. Again, that's where the writer or the editor comes in. He really needed an editor on this book. Then after that, what happens next is there is. Will you bring up Dino King's old tagline? You missed it. I mentioned it earlier, Damos. The old tagline used to be, "What if dinosaurs didn't exist?" Which, not good. So anyway, what happens next is we get to the second part, or the end of the first part, which is we have the tragedy. Because he's a superhero-ish type character, the tragedy must happen. There must be the Uncle Ben gets shot moment, right? So, what happens is a dinosaur knocks on the door and eats the mom. Now, the art by itself is properly horrifying. Properly horrifying. It's a good, well done sequence, except for one part. The dinosaur shouts, "Surprise, bitch!" Liam, you ruined it. You ruined it. Less is more. When Griffith raped Casca, if he had said, "Surprise, bitch," the tone of the situation completely changes. If, Like that's a one-liner from like an action movie. Right? Or Freddy Krueger. It's goofy. And Samuel L. Jackson Saurus. It's funny you say that, because in my notes I say here, the surprise bitch thing took me out of what would have otherwise been a traumatic moment. Instead of being heartbreaking, the mom character was super wholesome and a really likable character. She gets eaten after a Sam Jackson style one-liner. Had the dinosaur even knock on the door? Well, yeah, it's like a T-Rex, so I'm like, I guess it used its nose. So, yeah. But basically, a bunch of dinosaurs crash to the house and steal the kids and bite the head off of Kaiji, which he grows his face back, or grows the top of it. Somehow he grows his brain back. Which, alright. Fair enough. He's got a crazy, like, Deadpool-style healing factor. That's interesting. But again, it all needs editing for a better flow. Then the whole second part of the book is a fight scene. And to Liam's credit, not bad. But the style used is what I would call very sketch-like. Let me see if I can pull up. Somebody had sent me a picture. Give me just a second. I'm going to try to find it real quick. And I'm going to copy and paste it. Kind of give you an idea of... Because someone sent me this before the whole book. And it's not a bad style. Like, not by any stretch of the imagination. But at the same time, it could have been a lot better. Because the sketchy style of it kind of, at points can make it a little difficult to follow. I think some more shading and halftones would have worked a lot better. It's just one of those things where, like, I know what you're going for, but it's not quite... You know what? I'm actually going to have to take that back, because going back through this, I can, I'm kind of understanding where they were going with this. So never mind on that. I rescind what I was saying. One thing that is funny is, oh my god, this is like some of the goofiest dialogue I've ever read. And the reason I'm not showing my camera is I don't want to, and then I'm trying to avoid the flagging. So let me turn off my display real quick. But what page is it on? 41. So going to cut a couple of and I'm not the only person who has made this this point before, but I don't really give a shit. It's still funny. Because it's one of the things, like, he puts an ad in the book and it's not very well placed. which I find that funny because the thing is when you're placing ads in a book, you have to be aware of your page turns, and he really was not being smart about them here. So I'm going to show you the flow of the dialogue, which the dialogue is fucking hilarious, mostly because it's not good. So just this opening line. Oni-chan, are you really not retarded anymore? I'm sorry. That's so funny. And what's worse is, again, it's funny, but it's not timed well. Because this is supposed to be a wholesome moment where they're stopping him from being a fucking berserking dinosaur. And he's coming back to his senses. And the first thing he says, "Why were you retarded?" Oh no. This is so fucking stupid. And what makes it worse is he says maybe I'm still a little bit retarded. What the fuck? Oh no. Oh. Who wrote this, Vizzy Pop? I know, right? But what gets better is, like, we gotta illustrate the fucking page turn here, because this is so fucking funny. Because it's just so, it's like he really was not thinking this through. So this is one page. It says, "So long as I try, I'm exactly as strong as I need to be. Isn't that right?" Now, when you say, "Isn't that right, ... and then you turn the page, you see, "Isn't that right, great survivor Saint Kaiden?" Like, what? What? Also, I just want to say, this character's design looks a little familiar. In fact, it looks very familiar. I wonder why it looks so familiar. You know, like, it looks ridiculously familiar, I would say. No, I'm not gonna sue him, but it's obvious that, like, it's like, Jesus Christ, dude. But yes, that page turn got me. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So that's funny. So he should have been a lot more aware of his page turns in regards to where his ads are at. Um so again, dialogue is really stiff. And then what I will say is the book ends a lot better than Kakashi did. Kakashi just kind of ends on a just fucking cliffhanger, and I'm gonna have to open up stream elements to read those demos. Give me a second. I didn't have it up because very few people actually use that to throw money at me. He says, too, just remember, Micah, Liam thinks you are thus he thinks you act like this, lol. And then he throws in another bucket and says, just remember, Micah, Liam thinks you are autistic, so he thinks you must act like Kaiju Boy. Liam, is Kaiji based on me? Is he really? I don't think it is. I think Liam based it on himself. Because it's very similar to a story that he tells about himself. Is like, oh, a family took him in at some point, and his life got all so much better. And then, it's like the dinosaurs represent all the people that don't like him. So he's beating them up, and he's fighting. He's that Dino King. He's fighting. Like that. It's a broad self-insert, but that's probably what it is. But in all seriousness, it's a better book than Kakashi. Not by a lot, just by a decent amount. But it's like, God, he really needs an editor. He really needs an editor. There's some interesting ideas in it, but it's just like, man alive, it was a slog to get through at some points. No, Kakashi's a mess. Dino King's a little bit more put together. I think that if he has an editor on the next book, then he will do much better than he did this time. Comicsgate dead. No, but I think that the problem that Comicsgate has, from my observations of it, is people need to get back to work. The whole point was to make comic books because the mainstream industry wasn't willing to make ones that were good. So, less worrying about Eric July, more worrying about making your own stuff. And that goes to everybody, not just Ethan. It's like, we need to get back to that. That's why I'm getting a bit more active in the community, is to set the example. Because I'm getting back to work on comics now, too. And gotta, it's a community that has become more and more insular as time has gone on instead of growing outward. And that's not good. You're either growing or you're dying when it comes to business. And if you want people to make money off comic books, that business has to grow. So, final notes. From Xenotype to Kakashi, Liam honestly has degenerated as a writer. This is what happens. Like, he's gotten worse from when I met him. He's gotten way worse. And a lot of that comes from the fact that he doesn't have any editor, Dino King was better than Kakashi, as I said, but it has a good amount of problems. A lot of these issues would have been solved, again, just have an editor. But the problem is that Liam thinks he's too good for that. The biggest flaw with Liam Gray is he's not Liam Gray. And I don't mean that in like the gaslighting way that he says it, where he tries to suggest that's not his real name. Liam Gray hasn't been the Liam Gray that I met for a very long time. He is Leem. Leem. Leem is a retard. Leem is a spurg. And he has been Leem for far too long. Leem can't get shit done right. He sucks at everything. Because he's a spurg. He doesn't think. He just does dumb shit. The other problem is that Leem doesn't want criticism. He can't handle it. He doesn't want to be told he's wrong. He's Leem. Leem is the greatest at everything ever. Even though he lies about a good chunk of the things that he says he's done. He wants yes men around him to tell him that everything he does is awesome and wonderful. Even though it isn't. as we saw today. The problem with this, when you have just yes men around you, it makes you a weak person, first and foremost. And on top of that, it makes you a terrible writer. There's a reason I'm forming an L here. It's what these books are, a big L. But without people around you to tell you you're not doing things correctly, you never learn, and you never improve on anything at any point ever. So until Leem decides he wants to be Liam again, he's going to continue to miss the mark. He has the potential to be a fantastic writer, but until he sheds that unearned ego, and he stops lying about stupid shit, and gets his head in order, at that point when he does all that, he will be a great writer. But right now, Leem has basically been designated as the Comicsgate lolcow. The whole thing with EVS is that people get on him for the feud with Eric July, which was pointless, in my opinion, and late books. Right? That's what they get on him about. Liam Gray is a legitimate lolcow. Because he's an idiot. Because Leem exists. And he is the lolcow of the Comicsgate community. If you want to be taken like a professional, you can't have that you can't have that reputation. You just can't. You will never go anywhere. You'll just be the butt of the joke for the rest of whenever. You're never gonna be a big name writer. It's just not gonna happen. So, but right now, all Liam is the Comicsgate lolcow. That's it. And the thing is, being a lolcow is a choice. If you get your fucking shit together, you won't be one. But he won't get his shit together. That's my feelings on Liam Gray and his comics. He's definitely gotten a lot worse as a writer. So, let me show you guys some stuff. Or one thing specifically. Yeah. Look at the absurd level of detail. We're finally doing Project Lazarus. I have found an interior artist who seems to really love the idea. This cover is being worked on by the artist that did all of my concept artwork for Lazarus so far. And yes, it is a Doom homage cover. And as you can also see, it's a wraparound cover. So we got this going. This is being worked on. We will probably have once I can pay for the first batch of pages and pay for them to get colored, we will start a crowdfunding campaign to hopefully get this book done. And I think that a lot of people are really going to dig it. Another thing to show off. Where is it? Ugh, gosh. Is the covers for Cyberpop Book 2. So the next book is going to be called Dama de la Muerte. That's the cover by Manito, our artist on the book. And then we only have the black and whites for this. Kanan just got it to me. This is the Kanan white cover. I got it digitally, Jake. What do you guys think? Personally, I'm a huge fan of this. I love Kanan's artwork, so anytime we get to work together, I'm stoked. So yeah. Grindstone keeps moving, baby. Always on the grind. Always. All right. That's all I had for today. I am exhausted. I've been up since like 4 o'clock this morning. So I'm going to get some dinner and then get some sleep. But I appreciate you guys coming by, especially those of you who are liberal with your super chats. Next video, Shirt Dude just told me that it's being rendered. So we will have that up for members probably tomorrow. And then it will be up for everybody else probably by Saturday, Sunday, maybe Monday at the latest. So on that note, I'm going to go get some rest. I appreciate all of you guys coming by and hanging out. I will see you guys next time. Have yourselves a good one.